belajar totally different. Okay, so sebelum kita start lecture, any of you yang nak tanya pasal assignment ke ataupun my part lah, assignment ke ataupun kamu mungkin dah baca apa lab manual ke, so ada yang nak tanya? Anyone? Nak tanya apa-apa?
Doktor.
Siapa ni? Saya tak nampak ni siapa.
Saya Iklimah.
Iklimah, okay.
Saya nak tanya untuk yang assignment yang ada kena buat video documentation tu kan. Yang tu kiranya cakap pasal apa, pasal insect tu?
The assignment is you can choose PES kan, betul tak? Assignment tu yang you can talk about like macam National Geographic, apa yang dia cakap. Pernah tengok National Geographic tak? Macam you can talk about diversity, dia punya habitat, mungkin dia punya behavior atau macam mana dia feeding. It depend on you lah, your creativity. But then saya nak video tu bukan yang sebabnya if you expert in IT, kamu boleh ambil je dari YouTube kan soal kan. No, I want your proof. I want proof yang kata okay ni adalah your video. Okay, you ambil lah gambar, faham tak? Buat video macam mana you introduce your PES. But PES tu maximum is 5 kan saya kata. Maximum is 5. So kamu boleh ambil cari dekat rumah kan. Sebenarnya okay, when we talking about insect kan, you have to be macam bukan alert, macam mana, particular tau. Insect you can find everywhere. Mungkin kamu rasa kamu tak nampak. Okay, but it's actually everywhere. So kamu pergi tengok belik mak kamu punya pokok bunga, for sure you will find insect. Okay, ada kebun sayur ke kan. Cumanya you have to be critical. Maksudnya you don't you cannot expect yang insect tu nampak besar. Okay, for sure tak lah. But with technology, even though kamu tak ada microscope, you still can ambil video yang boleh tunjuk your PES lah. Even pun kita mungkin lah dalam video tu mungkin tak nampak clear if you PES tu macam totally small kan. Cumanya saya nak dalam video tu kamu buat explanation about the PES and then kamu muncul. Faham? Muncul in the screen. Faham tak maksud saya? So
dia nampak dalam muka kita juga.
Yes. So tu adalah proof of your work. Okay, sebab if you, like I said tadi, kalau kamu pandai, kamu boleh edit je video from online. But then saya akan tahu, okay ni video kamu ke tak. Okay, so marks of course bukan datang dari situ lah. If you want to get marks, you have to contribute to that assignment lah. Okay, so faham tak maksudnya? Sekejap, I think I didn't specifically on PES sahaja kan, betul tak? Saya dah lupa dah pasal assignment tu.
Doktor cakap insect je sebenarnya.
Yes, insect sahaja. So not necessarily PES. Okay, maybe you found butterfly, maybe you found dragonfly, lipas, faham tak? But you have to make explanation lah. On that video tu kamu kena pandai-pandai lah. Mungkin kamu boleh edit pun video tu. Mungkin nak tambah gambar statik ke waktu your presentation. But faham tak? You have to have your specimen jugalah. Maksud saya kat sini. Kan ambil gambar yang you sendiri your own. Bukannya gambar internet. Okay, so pandai-pandai lah. I think kamu semua hebat dari teknologi berbanding saya. So saya nak tengok your creativity as well on your work. Okay, but your explanation tu based on the punya biology ke up to you lah. Cumanya within the time frame. Okay, make sure within the time frame. And of course kita ada rubrik juga kan di yang saya kata saya fokus on apa untuk your part, untuk your mark. So you have to understand that lah juga. Okay. So any question others other than that? Tak ada?
Lepas tu kan doktor memang kena hantar 1 Disember
Lama dah saya bagi kat kamu kan awal semester. Okay. Yes, 1 Disember dah tak boleh drag lagi dah. Nanti kamu akan ada assignment subjek lain juga. Okay, that's why I dengan Dr. Sabrina give you assignment dari awal semester. Okay, so that you can prepare right now pun. Maksudnya awal lagi pun dah kamu boleh start dah. Okay.
Okay doktor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Dan saya kat sini juga sebelum kita start, I want to mention that okay, in my class, you have to be prepared. Even pun kamu tak buka kamera, katalah kamu tak nak buka kamera kan waktu saya teach, tak apalah yang tu sebab saya pun tak sempat nak tengok kamu ada ke tak. But be prepared sebabnya during my lecture, okay, you will have 15-second quiz. 15 saat quiz. Maksudnya saya akan keluarkan soalan random. So waktu tengah-tengah aja tiba-tiba pop keluar 15-second quiz. Kamu kena jawab lah. Macam mana nak jawab? Through chatbot. Okay. So type on your chatbot. The first, since kamu ramai kan. So 5 orang pertama, within 5 second, remember within 15 second. Okay, 15 saat sahaja. So saya akan count sebab bila kamu type chat dekat chatbot, dia ada time kan? Okay, so within 15 second sahaja yang saya ambil kira. So for ada yang 15 saat yang kemudian lebih 15 saat tu, saya dah tak kira lah siapa yang hantar mark tu. Sebabnya when you type your answer on chatbot, kawan kamu yang belakang tu boleh nampak kan? So dia boleh copy and paste je jawapan. But whether it's true or not, yang tu depend lah kan. So for those 5 student yang send awal, okay, akan dapat 1 mark untuk 15 second quiz. But for those yang lambat, kalau jawapan dia betul, akan dapat 0.5. Okay. So I don't have, saya tak kira berapa, for now saya tak tahu, tak ingat berapa soalan saya ada. But dia keluar random. So you have to be prepared lah. Sebab mark ni kamu akan carry under your quiz as well. Okay, 15 second quiz, dia tak semestinya datang dari my lecture. Okay, it's also come from your general knowledge. So jawab tak jawab, ada ke tak ada, you have to be prepared, okay? So try your best. But of course it's relate to our lecture lah. Saya tak akan keluar tiba-tiba suddenly keluar soalan yang tak ada kaitan langsung. No lah, right? Of course it will relate to our subject. Maksudnya our course as well. Cumanya it's random. So mungkin saya tak mention pun dalam kelas. Okay, so you have to be prepared. Even pun kamu tak buka kamera pun, I don't mind. Okay, but soalan tu keluar random. Ingat, mungkin slide ke-5, mungkin slide ke-20 dan maximum quiz, 15 second quiz yang ada dekat lecture adalah 3 maximum. Okay, so it can be 2 sahaja ke, it can be tak ada langsung, it depends. Okay, faham tak? So for our first lecture, today saya tak akan keluarkan quiz sebab ni first time saya inform dekat you all, right? So dia tak akan ada 15 second quiz. Okay, 15 second satu soalan, maksudnya jawapan yang pendek je kamu kena type. Dia bukan soalan panjang-panjang, jawapan panjang-panjang you need to explain. No, dia just simple soalan je. Okay, so you have to be prepared untuk type dekat chatbot. So ingat, 5 orang pertama jawab betul dapat 1, but others akan dapat 0.5. But only jawapan yang saya receive within 15 saat sahaja. Okay, So maksudnya dekat chatbot nanti banyaklah keluar nama-nama jawapan kamu tu. But since I can control the chatbot, so maksudnya macam tu lah. Jawapan dia saya akan check selepas kelas you all. Ataupun mungkin juga kalau sempat kita akan tengok terus directly lah kan. Okay, so semua faham right? Okay, so now let's recite Ummul Kitab Al-Fatihah to start our lecture lah. Okay, can you see my slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Doktor.
Yes.
So apa tajuk? WIT Betul tak? WIT
Plant.
classification. Betul slide yang betul.
Plant diseases
Disease caused by parasitic.
higher plants.
Oh, yang tu yang keluar ya? Okay, sekejap Okay, not this one actually. Sekejap. Okay, now boleh nampak?
Boleh.
WIT classification.
And
Yes.
bertanya.
Okay. So for the first 2 weeks, we will cover part WIT first. Okay, sebelum ni Dr. Sabrina dah cover part pathology, right? So in this plant protection courses, plant protection course, we will cover, actually you will cover part pathology, WIT as well as entomology. But the one main adalah pathology and entomology. WIT ni adalah what we call it macam sampingan je lah kan. Bukan sampingan but just 2 weeks in your lecture. Okay. So WIT classification kita akan tengok in this lecture today, and then part their ethnobotany, touch a bit part ethnobotany, biology, ecology, which is including competition and allelopathy. So when we were talking about WIT, any one of you want to give me an example? Apa benda WIT ni? Mungkin you can come up with one species. Anyone? Tak ada?
Tak tahu nama.
Lalang.
Lalang, okay. Others?
Rumput.
Rumput, okay. It's too general but anyway. Lagi?
Cengkerik.
What? Apa?
Cengkerik.
No, now we're talking about WIT. We don't talk about pests. Okay, cengkerik I think it's we consider as pest lah. WIT. Now we're talking about WIT. Okay, WIT. We will see the definition. Okay, others? Ada lagi jawapan yang nak bagi?
Doktor,
Ya?
ulam raja tu WIT ke?
It can be WIT, it can be your vegetables. Okay, it depends. It depends on the justification of your justification. Okay, since we're talking about justification, let's see our lecture note. we will look at the definition. Okay, now definition, the words weed. Okay, plant growing where is not desired. So maksudnya benda yang kamu tak nak. Okay, now we are talking about kawan kamu punya example which is ulam raja, right? So ulam raja is a vegetable atau ulam sekiranya kamu makan. But let's say if the plant growing tapi kamu tak nak, dia tumbuh merata. Now we consider it as weed. Okay, faham tak? The words weed is where it's growing tapi kamu tak nak dia. It's not desired. Okay, dia tumbuh merata dah ni kan, dah merebak. So we consider as weed lah in that situation. So any plant that is objectionable or interfere with activity or welfare of man or human. Maksudnya bila kamu tanam dia dah merebak, right? So dia mungkin dah rosakkan kamu punya laman. Okay, dah nampak tak cantik dah. So tu we consider interfere with activity of or welfare of man or human or any plant or vegetation including fungi that interfering with the objective or requirement of people. So sama jugalah ni. Or ada lagi kat or herbaceous plant not valued for use guard as cumbering the ground and hindering the growth of superior vegetation. Okay. In ecological context kat sini, okay, which is yang grow spontaneous, kamu tak jaga in environment that has been modified by man. So maksudnya it no longer wild. Kalau dia tumbuh dekat hutan, you won't consider it as weed lah kan. Sebab kamu bukannya jaga hutan tu. So we not consider it as weed kalau rumput by man, maksudnya dekat rumah, dekat ladang. So meaning plant yang kamu tak nak tumbuh. So ingat, the one yang you tak nak, unwanted or not desired, but mungkin mengganggu your activity lah. Okay, so tu is definition of weed. Okay, so the first picture come up with, you just tanam, yeah.
Doktor? Doktor gerakkan slide ke?
Tak gerak ke?
Sebab kita orang still nampak slide yang pertama.
Okay, let's see. What happened Okay, let me stop sharing first. Kita start balik. Okay. Okay, definition kamu nampak the slide?
Yang second
This one is
sekarang dekat nombor 3. Slide ketiga yang gambar.
Okay, this one. If I move the after yang keempat, still come out ke tak?
Still nombor 3. Dia still static stay.
Others pun nampak macam tu juga ke? What happened Okay, if I'm not doing slideshow, okay, kamu nampak slide ketiga gambar tadi?
Nampak.
Kalau saya tak buat slideshow. Okay, this one is 4.
Nampak.
Nampak.
So move kalau saya tak buat slideshow. Okay, okay, let's see. Okay, let's try again. Okay, now back to gambar, betul tak?
Slide nombor 4.
Slide nombor 4. So it's not moving. Something wrong with my internet connection kot, I think. Okay, jap. Let's see. Okay, if we cannot do that. Okay, sorry for the delay. So I'm not sure why it's happened like that. Check. Okay, now kalau kita tak buat slideshow, can you see my slide sekarang? Boleh nampak jelas tak definition of weed? Weed come from native and naturalized flora. Boleh nampak?
Nampak.
Okay, terang So we're going to see macam ni lah. Okay, sebabnya bila slideshow dia hilang kan, dia tak bergerak that slide. But in my part, saya boleh gerak je that slide. Cumanya kamu je tak nampak. Okay, now. Okay, here the picture of it. Contoh pertama yang you may found in your lawn kan, kamu tanam rumput, for example, maybe rumput mutiara, right? Then suddenly maybe a few months, a few years, come out another types of on another species of plant, mungkin yang flowering plants different from the one yang kamu tanam. So two we consider as weed. And then maybe in your plantation area like oil palm plantation kan, the one yang cover the whole area. So bukannya pokok palm yang kamu tanam tu, so two we consider as weed. Okay. So it can be from native or naturalized flora. Maksudnya dia boleh datang dari the one yang wild. Okay. As you can see, nanti later on I will mention about seed bank, but first bila kita cakap pasal seed bank, okay, it's actually seed yang already been in the soil. So even though you make a treatment first, mungkin they come out later. Okay, so two we consider as weed. And then usually the plant that succeed as weed usually able to adapt to disturbed environment. Okay, so you pasang tile kan, bukan tile yang dalam rumah, usually yang macam dekat tepi laluan jalan kaki kan, just susun macam tu, suddenly keluar weed kat celah-celah dia. Okay, so because the one yang succeed in weed, succeed as weed, dia ada what we call it capability to survive compared to the plant yang kita put it as crop, okay, atau monoculture yang kita tanam. Dia punya adaptability is very strong compared to the one yang kita tanam. Okay. But okay, of course bila we consider as weed, dia nampak tak elok kan, nampak tak cantik. But you have to remember that they have their own value. Everything yang ada in this ecosystem, in this earth, on earth, okay, semuanya ada their own value, and weed can be used as a wildlife food, nitrogen fixation, okay, or also makers of stable plant community. Maknanya satu plant community, when we talking about plant community, meaning that there are many species within that area. So it's actually makers ni, maksudnya dia macam complete kan area tu with weed bercampur dengan other plants, become a sustainable community. So you have to remember that other than apa yang kamu tak nak dekat dekat crop kamu atau dekat rumah kamu, we consider as weed, but it also have their own benefit. Okay. Okay. Now since I said weeds, dia boleh survive ataupun adapt more compared to your crop. So apa dia punya karakteristik? Okay, so first they have a rapid growth, rapid seedling growth, and also can reproduce when young. Okay, for your crop, especially crop yang maybe like vegetables, there are certain times baru they produce seed. But for wheat, even though the small size, katalah dia bantuk ke whatever, right, you consider maybe because of the environmental factor, but it's still able to produce seed. Okay, and also they have quick maturation. Even the small size dah matured, dah come out with flowers and so on. And they have dual mode reproduction. Maksudnya ada dua. First is sexual reproduction by producing seed, And then they have also asexual reproduction through vegetative part. Okay, so they have dual mode, which is very good for their survival lah kan. Kalau tak boleh produce seed, then they can produce seedling, not seedling lah, maksudnya a new generation with vegetative part. And they also tolerance to environmental factor due to their ability to dormant, especially when we're talking about seed, and then also large food reserve. Okay, large food reserve, maybe they have all the nutrient, keep it in the root area and so on. So bila kamu cut ke atas, katalah kamu buat meshi rumput, right? Cut ke atas, and then the food that reserve in the root area, okay, membantu pokok tu akan tumbuh dengan cepat semula. Okay, tanpa dia maksudnya still kekal at the area lah, even pun kamu dah mesin dah ke atas, dah tak nampak dah rupa yang dari atas. But in soil, dia still ada food reserve. For example, macam tu lah. Okay, and often self-compatible in pollination. Self-compatible meaning that they don't need cross-pollination. Okay, tak perlu datang dari pokok lain pun. Even one pokok sahaja stay kat situ, dia boleh survive. Okay, so and also have non-specialized flower visitors or usually pollinate by wind sahaja. So angin tiup, okay, dia boleh transfer their pollen and so on without needed the animal pollinators and so on. Okay, and also they are producing seed that are same size or same shape with crop. Especially ni kalau dalam macam when you planting rice, for example, paddy, okay. So bila nak harvest tu ada dah campur paddy dengan wheat. Sebab usually kalau kamu tengok plant that or wheat that grow in paddy area, pokok dia almost sama macam pokok padi kamu juga, right? The same family, Poaceae ataupun Graminaceae we call it, okay. So of course dia punya seed almost lebih kurang, mungkin smaller than a paddy size, and of course it's difficult to separate. So of course we don't want this kind of wheat appear in our paddy field lah. Okay, and wheat also produce as long as growing condition permit. Okay, and usually in large number. Okay. They also can adapt long and short range seed disposal mechanism. Okay. Wheat also, the roots also able to penetrate and emerge from dead soil. Ni when we're talking about seed bank, okay. So even though there are maybe 15 cm layer of soil, tapi seed tu dah terkambus kat bawah. But then they have ability to come up even pun dari jauh dari dalam soil. Okay, so tu adalah characteristic of the wheat. And beside then, they also have perennial species that perennial have bitterness in lower stem nodes or in rhizome or roots. Ni contoh macam rumput. Okay, kamu cabut rumput kan? Pernah cabut rumput? I think semua orang boleh cabut rumput yang menjala tu. So bila kamu cabut, dia just putus sekerat. So ada lagi sekerat yang tertinggal attached to the soil. Tu yang kita panggil bitterness in lower stem nodes. Okay. Data cabut akan quickly regenerate lah, akan producing a new or the whole thing. And then adaptation that repel grazing such as spine, disease or maybe other. And they have competitive ability for nutrient and light and water. So if you have crop yang ada sekitarnya ada wheat, of course wheat tu akan cepat membesar compare to your crop because they are competitive in ability to take nutrient, light and water. And okay, and mostly resistance to herbicide. Okay, if you use for example you want to control broadleaf weeds, you have to use specific herbicide for broadleaf Otherwise, bila kamu spray, certain weed akan mati, certain weed akan still hidup. Okay, so now we look at the harmful aspect. Like I said tadi, semuanya ada kelebihan dia, dan weed ni benda yang kamu tak nak. So what is the harmful aspect of weed as well? So selain daripada kamu tak nak because maybe dia semakkan kamu punya laman, it may compete with your crop for nutrient, water and light, and also added protection cost, which is you have to buy herbicide ataupun mungkin put more effort to control, and then this weed also can become a host for your crop pests. Okay, and you need pesticide untuk control pest. So tu we said added protection cost. Maksudnya you have to put effort macam mana nak control the weed tu. Okay, and then reduce quality of the farm product, which is like I said, kalau nya bercampur dengan your grain, especially like paddy, you have to sort out sebelum you sell it to customer lah kan. Nanti customer dapat beras yang bercampur dengan all the wheat seed. So tak naklah macam tu. So usually it will reduce quality of farm product lah bila nampak bercampur. Okay, and then reduce quality of animals, like certain plant produce poison. So your cattle, your sheep maybe can have mechanical damage, or maybe can affect their health and so on. Okay, and also increase production and processing costs, like I said tadi about the grain. And water management as well, since it's compete for nutrient and water. Okay, and here is the picture. Okay, for example, the first one, it will block the canal. Okay, bila dah aquatic weed, now we're talking about plant that live in aquatic environment. So when they grow in aquatic area like canal, okay, dah banyak sangat, dia akan block the water movement. And then the second picture is about the seed. Okay, your grain together with wheat seed. So we have to have or spend more costs to remove or to separate this thing. And then the one with the picture of cattle, so it may cause health problem to cattle bila makan like plant with poisonous plant and so on lah. And the last picture is actually combination of 4 pictures. Okay, tu adalah what I mean here is as a host, wheat can become a host for your pests, agricultural pests. Okay, and it also affect human health, like hay fever for those yang ada masalah with pollen. Okay, kalau kamu ada banyak weeds, especially flowering weeds kan, yang banyak keluar bunga tu, so you may face macam allergy like swelling, itching, rash and so on, and also can cause poisonous if you consume poison plant. And then dry weed, okay, it can cause fire hazard sebab dia jadi source of fire lah kan, kalau jatuh katalah puting rokok ke at that area. Okay, so you will start a serious fire problem. And decrease land value and reduce crop choice. Okay, aesthetic value of course nampak tak cantik lah. Okay, now weed classification. Okay, any questions sebelum tu? Tak ada? Okay, weed classification. We can classify the weed based on life history, okay, habitat, or their morphology, or we consider as a plant type as well. So for the plant type, we said here, okay, is based on mostly based on family lah. So 2/3 of important weeds are broadleaf or dicotyledon species. Okay, most of the rest are grasses and also sage and fern or fern alley. So usually we can classify weed based on group. It's more like what we said, plant characteristic kalau kamu boleh separate dia lah kan. Broadleaf, we will learn actually, I think you already learned pun. I'm not sure whether you learn how to differentiate whether that plant is broadleaf, grass, sage or fern alley. Kamu dah pernah belajar ke?
Belum.
Kamu tak belajar macam mana nak differentiate. Okay, ni broadleaf. Grass macam mana, sage macam mana. Of course weed actually kita sebut tadi pokok yang kita tak nak kan, yang mengganggu human activity and so on. Dalam banyak-banyak pokok, if you realize at your, katalah dekat your lawn dekat rumah ke, there are a few type of weeds actually, or a few type of plant yang kamu boleh separate based on maybe characteristic of leaf. Broadleaf usually the one yang kita nampak leaf yang macam lebar. But grass is your rumput lah, okay? It's monocotyledon kan. And sage is almost similar like grasses, but if you may Google, okay? Sebab saya tak ada gambar kat sini, I think here, okay? But for the sage, it's look like grasses, okay? But then bila kamu cross cut, maksud buat keratan rentas dia punya batang, it's actually bentuk segitiga. Okay, kalau grass dia just bulat, kamu ni cross cut tau, keratan rentas. Okay, kalau grass just bulat, but sage dia bentuk segitiga. It's totally different. Usually you will find sage in area yang semi-aquatic or aquatic area rather than on field. But there are also a few species of sage yang duduk dekat padang as well lah. Maksudnya bukan aquatic environment. And fern or fern alley is almost like fern. I'm sure you all know paku pakis, right? So the one that we call fern or fern alley is almost similar like paku pakis itulah. Termasuklah paku pakis as well. Okay. So broadleaf yang kamu nampak daun lebar-lebar, dia rumput. We still consider in Malay term as rumput. Okay, sebab kita tak ada rumput daun lebar ke whatsoever kan. Apa yang tumbuh weed tu we consider as okay rumput lah, benda yang kita tak nak. But it's actually broadleaf yang daun lebar-lebar tu. Okay, dia bukan dia punya urat daun bukan straight. Grasses and sage, okay dia nampak straight. But sage bila kamu cut, dia bentuk segi tiga. Okay, and we also can classify based on habitat. Okay, habitat whether in cropland, rangeland, forest, aquatic environment or maybe environmental weed, which is environmental weed ni maksudnya yang tumbuh macam tepi jalan, yang tempat yang macam man-made, maksudnya dia bukan macam padang rumput ke no. Yang tu that one is different. Environmental weed yang tumbuh celah pasu. So environmental ni maksudnya benda yang environment yang kita dah modify. Okay, jalan raya tiba-tiba keluar pokok tu we consider as environmental weed. Okay, cropland ni tempat yang kamu tanam lah, maksudnya untuk ladang and so on. Rangeland is kawasan ragut, forest in forest lah. This one is since I said in forest tadi, kita usually didn't say that plant yang tumbuh kat situ tu adalah weed sebab dia adalah natural environment, but we still can separate the plant, okay, based on dia punya habitat. And then we have parasitic weed. Parasitic weed is the weed that parasitize on other plant. Maksudnya dia tak boleh tumbuh alone. They still need host. Host dia adalah another plant. So tu we have parasitic weed. And then for the life history, okay, we can separate it based on either it's annual, biennial or perennial. Annual maksudnya dia tak tahan lama lah, maybe within 3 months, pokok tu kamu tanam, okay, and then die. So dia complete one life cycle. less than 1 year or 1 growing season. But for biennial, it may be 2 years, but more than a few life cycle. But for perennial, okay, ni adalah pokok yang we call it tahan lama. Maksudnya kamu tanam setahun kat situ, mungkin next year, another 2 years, they're still there. Okay, but it can be divided into either simple or creeping type lah. Okay, this is their life cycle kalau kamu nak faham. Okay, for annual, habis satu life cycle then die. Okay, start a new growth. But perennial, cycle dia berulang-ulang. Maksudnya dia kekal kat situ, right? Okay. So, like I said previously, it has benefit, especially in ethnobotany part. Okay, ethnobotany part, the one that kira dia punya useful to human lah, kita cakap dalam kes ni. Okay, for environmental tu lain cerita lah kan, but kegunaan kepada human. Okay, first as food. Okay, it can be eaten as salad, leafy vegetables and so on. It has high carbohydrate, protein, amino acid and so and other nutrient. As a forage crop, which is for animal feed. Okay, many of it have medicinal use. Okay, we can extract the plant or chemical compound from it. For example, here we have EPO, evening primary prime oil, right? EPO, that kind of plant is actually from is actually wheat. Okay, and then we have meat thistle, which is good for supplement that good for liver. Okay, pun juga dari jenis wheat lah. Maksudnya, of course, to get the more chemical compound, pokok tu dah ditanam, but asalnya dia adalah wild type ataupun just wheat. Okay. And for agricultural use, okay, it can be used as a cover crop. Okay, cover crop adalah plant yang kita tanam supaya macam tak nak bagi soil erosion, maybe a trap crop for beneficial insect, trap crop for beneficial insect, or also maybe as a fodder for animal. Okay, so two in agricultural use. And some of it can be used as pollination control, especially the one that grow in aquatic environment such as duckweed, water hyacinth, which is used to reduce eutrophication. Okay, eutrophication adalah the one yang alga bloom. Pernah belajar or never heard of eutrophication? Nutrient in the environment, kita boleh tanam duckweed or water hyacinth. This plant akan absorb all the nutrient not needed tadi tu. Okay, but remember, this duckweed and water hyacinths also can become aquatic if it to control absorb the excess nutrient dari pretty much after that when what has done the movement dia akan mengganggu keseimbangan aktif lah. So as you as pollination control, extinction, source of fibers and so on. Okay, ni yang saya kata tadi, evening time rose oil. Okay, one is kalau kamu masuk the pharmacy, you can find this in every pharmacy. Dia adalah supplement. Okay. Now we look at how this reproduce and disperse. Okay, seed production. How we reproduce. Okay. So seed production is actually part sexual reproduction, since it's produce seed. So seed is actually a mature fertilized ovule or plant embryo that store energy reserve so that it can grow, become a new plant. Okay, there are two main factors why wheat seed is difficult to manage. Okay, because first is like I mentioned previously, dia compete, dia payah remove a few months tiba-tiba keluar pokok lain which is wheat yang kamu tak nak. Because the size is very small and also easily dispersed by wind and water. Kamu tahu, okay, wheat ni hanya tumbuh kat sini je. Tiba-tiba muncul pula somewhere else because the seed is very small and it can be transmit ataupun it can be what you call dispersed by wind and water tanpa involve human activity pun. Okay, and the size, okay, because of the size, it cannot be easily detected lah until it's germinate. And also due to their seed abundance, dia bukannya keluar sebiji seed sahaja, like maybe let's say mungkin plant, if we compare with our crop lah, for example, right, we have a large crop like mango, for example. There's only one seed inside, but when we're talking about wheat, the number of seed is very, or we can say it's a lot. Okay, because of that, kalau dia expose ke tanah kan, kamu tak nampak, the size is very small, and then many tak tahu ke mana pergi dah. And also their seed bank is enormous. Seed bank is actually seed yang dormant yang ada dalam tanah. So it's enormous. Mungkin kamu tanam hari ni, katalah ambil tanah dari environment masuk dalam pasu, and then a few weeks keluar pokok atau keluar wheat, right? Kamu pun cabut buang, but another few weeks keluar lagi. So dia akan come out macam tak ada ending because of the seed bank dalam tanah yang kamu ambil tu. Okay, it's very enormous. Kamu tak nampak pun size tu, tapi dia ada banyak actually. Di antara what we call it soil particle and so on. Okay, and then some wheat can produce viable seed by apomorphism, which is non-fertilization part, but still can produce seed like dandelion. Okay, and also like I said previously, it's self-fertile lah. Tak perlu ada plants. It can produce their own. Dia ada jantan dan betina, maybe that part of flowers. So usually it's self-fertile. Okay, and then production is high. Maksudnya production potential ni is high. Dia boleh produce banyak anak, even pun size kecil. So compared to other crop, it's very productive. Okay. Now we look at seed dispersal. Tadi pasal seed size and enormous of seed bank. Okay, now seed dispersal. Like I said here, okay, it's less complicated if the seed just fell directly from the mother plant, jatuh je dekat tanah kat situ. But actually the situation is not like that because seed can disperse by wind and water, so you cannot determine the destination. Okay, and then the features mostly yang mana yang boleh disperse in wide area, they have something or structure that can give a buoyancy in air or it can attach to something. Maksudnya dia mungkin ada structure like kipas, jatuh dari atas pokok, tiba-tiba terbang jauh dari mother plant. And also it has adaptation to be transported by dispersal agent like animals, including human, wind, and also water. So there are a few types of dispersal mechanism. Okay, first is we call it mechanical because of the characteristic, like they have a long, slender, stiff bristle, needle, grass yang that can attach to sock and so on. Okay, so some of it as hook. Okay, you can read other characteristic here, but I will show the pictures. Okay, sometimes it has resin, which is a sticky part yang mungkin kamu lalu je kat situ terlekat, melekat sticky, not because of the hook but because of the resin. But usually macam kita panggil contohnya macam kemuncut. Kamu tahu kemuncut? Pernah dengar that word?
Tahu.
Pernah.
Tahu.
Kan rumput yang kamu lalu je melekat kat seluar. Right. So tu kemuncut. That one because it has a hook. Okay, something like macam tajam tu. So bila kamu lalu dia termasuk dekat kain, so terus melekat. That one we consider is as a mechanical or characteristic yang it can be transport through mechanical lah. Okay, here is the pictures. Okay. So ada macam-macam jenis. Different widths have different morphological or modification or dispersal. Okay, kamu boleh tengoklah macam-macam ni yang mostly yang kemuncut terlekat kat seluar, right? And then there is with a strong spike yang mungkin terlekat dekat slipper, dekat kasut bila kamu terpijak kat tanah. Okay. And this one is dispersal through wind. Okay, the one that have or can be transported by wind usually have a silky white purpose or tuft of silky hair. Maksudnya dia ada structure yang macam bulu-bulu halus atau mungkin white purpose. Okay, supaya bila angin tiup dia boleh terbang dengan dia punya modification tadi tu. Okay, and then usually of course it's light lah. Kalau berat tak boleh nak disperse by wind, right? And then for example here I give tumbleweed. Okay, this one we don't have in Malaysia, but kalau kamu pernah tengok mungkin movie-movie macam cerita cowboy ke zaman-zaman dulu, right? Ada pokok kering yang tiba-tiba bergolek tengah gurun. That one is tumbleweed. Okay, boleh imagine tak?
Boleh.
Or maybe you pernah tengok lah.
Dalam
kan?
movie.
Yang nampak dia macam pokok kering je tapi tiup angin dia bergolek-golek tengah jalan lah. That one is tumbleweed. It's actually usually tumbleweed ni come from family like keluarga bayam. Okay, so waktu dia bergolek tu dia punya seed tersebar lah jatuh. But then dia bukannya terbang ke atas, dia bergolek atas tanah but still kerana ditiup angin. Okay, so once dia bump into something, dia punya seed jatuh. Nanti dia bergolek lagi, bump lagi jatuh. So that's how dia spread lah. Okay, this is the picture. Okay, tadi saya kata ada bulu-bulu halus kan. Yang ni bila kamu tiup, selalu dandelion lah kalau kamu tengok dalam movie kan, ambil gambar, tiup, nanti dia terbang. Okay, and then we have, this one is tumbleweed tadi, salsola, yang kamu nampak dalam cerita atau movie yang boleh tu, right? So they have that kind of characteristic so that it can be dispersed through the help of wind. Okay, angin And then for water, usually the seed have a long time, maksudnya boleh survive underwater during long time. Okay, and then some of it has wing akin, which is a floating structure. Ni paling senang kamu tengok adalah pokok kelapa. Perasan tak pokok kelapa selalunya kamu jumpa tepi pantai, area tepi sungai, tepi pantai, because the mode of transmission atau mode of dispersal, dia punya seed is ada dalam buah kelapa tu lah. So, jangan imagine seed dia lain pula. Buah kelapa kamu tengok tu dalam tu kan ada isi kelapa and so on tu. Tu adalah seed for coconut. Okay, so it has structure sabut kan, kita panggil sabut, to help them float. Kan, hanyut, nanti tiba-tiba terlekat kat tepi sungai, nanti tumbuh. So that's why you will see a lot of pokok kelapa at the tepi sungai. Kalau tak ditanam lah maksudnya. Kalau ditanam dekat rumah kamu pun mesti ada pokok kelapa, right? So kalau tak ditanam, it will disperse naturally through water or through help of water. And then also we consider if we have help from human, maksudnya kamu yang tolong spreadkan dia. Mungkin secara tak langsung, but mungkin secara tak sedar pun. Like I said tadi, mechanical, it can be due to human aid as well lah. Okay, and then maybe if you get water from other part untuk irrigation for example kan. So kalau kamu tak tapis air tu, mungkin inside the water irrigation ada seed yang dibawa dari tempat lain. Or maybe also because of machinery. Kan bila masuk ladang banyak machine yang masuk keluar masuk, right? Mungkin untuk harvesting, mungkin untuk membajak and so on. So in that machinery, maksudnya melekat mungkin di tayar or on machine tu lah kan. So it can transport the wheat seed from one place to another place. Okay, here I give an example of Partenium. Ni gambar Partenium right way, which is poisonous plant, especially for human and cattle. So it's already been dispersed, okay, especially in India, even in Malaysia pun kita dah ada sebenarnya plant ni, but it's not actually native to our region. Okay, but it can be transport through shipment of train. Kamu beli macam supply mungkin oat ke anything from outside, dia dah ada kat dalam tu, right? So tu adalah mode of dispersal as well. And for animal aid, it's almost similar like human aid lah sebenarnya. Cuma saya nak beza sekarang, for animal aid tak adalah for shipment tu kan, sebab it can pass like through digestive tracts. Tapi maksudnya bila for animal ni, okay, contohnya macam birds lah. You have birds, birds yang mungkin kamu lepas kat luar, it can fly to another place, okay, makan certain plant, makan fruit of certain plant. This fruit together with seed, dia akan masuk dia punya digestive tract, but then seed tu selalunya akan dibuang semula. Okay, maksudnya dia tak hadam lah. Yang hadam hanya the one yang soft part and so on. But that wheat seed still retain their viability even though after passing through the digestive tract. So bila dia dah buang dia punya feces dekat somewhere else, okay, nanti seed yang within that feces akan grow and tumbuh. Kira in a new area lah. Okay, sama juga like pernah dengar what we call it macam coffee yang made, bukan made lah, yang kopi luwak. I'm not sure about the name, but yang involve animal like apa kita panggil civet, palm civet. Pernah dengar tak?
Nah.
Pernah.
Kopi kan, yang kopi luwak, I think kot nama dia.
Yes.
Okay, so seed tu actually dia bagi makan kopi to that kind of animal. or to civet, palm civet, and then of course mana yang nak dihadam tu hadam lah. But then the seed yang kopi yang seed yang produce kopi tu, that animal akan buang balik right as dia punya feces. So dia ambil that one lah untuk buat kopi. Okay, so tu actually maksud animal aid kat sini lah. But then seed viable tu untuk buat kopi tu I'm not sure lah whether seed tu still viable or not, right? But in term of seed dispersal, seed that pass through the digestive tract supposed to be viable, baru dia boleh grow balik. Kalau seed tu tak viable, then it won't help in seed dispersal lah. Okay. Okay, now we're talking about seed germination that include dormancy. So kenapa the seed can survive long, or kenapa seed bank very enormous? Because they have this characteristic, dormant. Okay, dormancy, which is they survive for a long time either in soil, either in certain environment yang unsuitable for growth until suitable for them to grow. Okay, awal kalau tak suitable dia akan still dormant. After dah suitable, baru dia akan grow. Okay, so that's why the dormancy is actually a big problem for weed management. Okay, and then it can be dispersed in space without losing their dormancy. Since dah dormant, katalah dari satu tempat transport to another tempat, so it's still not losing dia punya viability tu. So to be dormant is sleeping or inactive lah. In biology dia kata suspended animation. Maksudnya alive tapi dia still akan tumbuh kemudian, but during that dormant time dia sebenarnya macam tak hidup. And the cause is maybe because of the light, okay, maybe because of the immature embryo, okay, and other factors. For example, for light, okay, certain germination, certain plant need a certain what we call it wavelength of light. Okay, so dia tak sama. Sometimes macam ada certain plant kalau dah terkambus jauh dalam tanah, it won't receive any light, right? So mungkin dia still akan kekal kat situ. Once ada light and then it start grow. It may be like that. Okay. And then for immature embryo, usually maksudnya dekat sini macam katalah the wheat plant, that wheat producing seed. Okay. Kita dah nampak seed tu, seed tu dah macam kering and so on kan. But it's actually still immature inside. Tapi bila macam it will takes time untuk dia grow to become a mature embryo, and then baru jadi seed, baru tumbuh as a seed. Okay, maksudnya kalau katalah dia dah fully matured during that time, dia punya dormancy length, tempo dormancy tu pendek lah. But for the what we call it very adaptive weed yang sangat adapt to environment, selalunya dia akan ada embryo yang awal-awal terhasil seed tu sebenarnya dia tak matured lagi. Maksudnya dia dah jatuh ke tanah. Katalah seed kan, weed to produce seed tu dah seed pod dah pecah, and then the seed jatuh kat tanah. But then the seed yang jatuh tu sebenarnya still dalam bentuk immature. Okay, tu maksud dia kat sini. So dia tak boleh immediate germination. Dia takkan germinate terus bila dah jatuh kat tanah. Even pun environmental sesuai, dia takkan germinate terus sebab still immature. So it will take a few times, mungkin ada certain periods, it can become, dia develop inside tau. Dalam seed tu dia still develop. Maksudnya dia bukannya tak ada proses langsung. So it still develop inside, become a mature embryo tapi dalam dah atas tanah, bukan dekat pokok lagi dah. Then when mature, suitable condition, and then it grow into a new generation. So this mechanism, it will help plant to or it will prevent germination at the wrong time. Maksudnya hanya certain time yang sesuai je baru dia grow. During that time dia akan kekal immature and then ambil proses lama untuk dia become mature and then grow. And then they also have impermeable seed coat, okay, which is yang mungkin we can consider as macam dia punya seed coat yang hard. So it need something like what we call it, macam faktor luaran untuk dia activate dia punya activity. Something like that lah. Okay, sometimes mungkin dia perlukan air. Okay, contoh dia kat sini kan how to say macam okay, katalah kamu beli seed kan, kalau kamu tanam terus certain seed dia tak akan grow langsung ataupun dia akan grow lambat, because kalau yang tak grow langsung tu due to loss of viability lah, sebab tak tahu dah waktu processed seed yang kamu beli tadi tu berapa lama dia ambil masa. But certain seed you can fasten the process atau reduce the dormancy process tu through a certain method. For example, mungkin kamu expose to water, or mungkin kamu masuk dalam peti ais, bagi dia sejuk dulu and then keluarkan. So there are certain factor yang boleh what we call it, influence the seed coat. Okay. Ni sama jugalah, oxygen also become a factor that can affect seed dormancy. Here I put it, the reason because most of the seed that appear in soil surface, it receive a lot of oxygen concentration compared to seed yang ada bawah atau deep inside the soil. So mana yang dekat soil surface tu dia akan cepat germinate compare tu yang dalam soil tadi lah. Okay. And temperature as well, yang saya kata tadi, contoh kita masukkan dalam peti ais, bila dia sejuk and kita keluarkan, so there is a change of temperature which is that can force certain seed to germinate faster. Okay, sebab without certain effect from temperature ni, dia akan still dormant ataupun dia tak macam duduk kekal, tak ada forcing environmental factor atau force luar yang force dia untuk germinate. And the precise minimum and maximum temperature for every species is different. So we cannot know the specific what we call it, the specific temperature lah to force every species to grow. Dia tak sama Okay, now we look at how to disperse based on vegetative and asexual reproduction. Okay, tadi kita tengok is sexual, from sexual part, which is producing seed. Now we look at the asexual reproduction or vegetative part. So usually kalau tak boleh produce seed, they can produce vegetatively. Okay, it's a simple by producing macam certain part of the plant. Mungkin tumbuh anak from stolon and so on. So dia bukannya dari sexual part lah. Okay, this is the example yang first. I put it as a water hyacinth. It can produce seed. Bukannya dia tak boleh hasilkan sexual reproduction. It can produce sexual reproduction, but dia punya vegetative reproduction can double the size lagi cepat compared to the seed. Okay, seed kat sini dia kata okay, dia hasilkan banyak seed, 300 seed maximum, and it can live up to 5 to 15 years. Maksudnya dormant within that period. Okay, dalam submerged in the water. But dia punya vegetative reproduction double the size, maksudnya buatkan pokok tu lagi membesar, cepat membiak, hanya within 10 to 15 days. Okay, so nampak beza kan? Dia boleh hasilkan seed, but then seed tu ambil masa lama. So since they want to grow fast, so vegetative reproduction can double the size compared to producing seed. So yang tu lagi banyak lah. Maksudnya instead of producing seed yang ambil masa lama, they produce vegetative reproduction. But of course, like I said, seed bank, maksudnya even pun kamu dah remove all the, katalah dah remove all the water hyacinths, mungkin another 5 years tiba-tiba keluar balik because of the seed lah. That one is because the seed bank tadi, seed yang mungkin submerged more than 5 years. Okay, for the part of reproductive organ, kat mana part-part yang boleh menghasilkan individu baru, we have what we call it stolon, or creeping above ground stem, that can be found mostly in grass. Okay, mana yang kamu nampak grass yang saya kata kamu tarik, yang grass menjala tu, tarik dia and dia putus sekerat. Mostly is dia punya reproductive organ adalah what we call it stolon. And then rhizome, okay, rhizome ni found in like a Bermuda grass, all these things lah, red top and so on. This is the name of the grass actually. But kalau for those yang tak kenal rhizome, okay, kita ada Zingiberaceae, keluarga tu, okay, kunyit, halia and so on. Itulah bentuk rhizome kat situ. Okay, and then some of it has bulb or aerial bulblet. Okay, for example in wild onion and garlic, bulb kan, yang yang bawang kamu masak tu. Okay, of course bawang tu bukan wheat, but then my point of view is here adalah bentuk tu. Okay, bulb. And then comb. And we have tuber as well. And some of it taproot. Okay, here is the picture. Tuber, okay. Rhizome, comb, bulb. This one is stolon. Okay, this picture is like is a strawberry plant. Okay, anak strawberry yang terhasil. Ni sebenarnya datang dari stolon dia lah. So dari induk yang kat tengah ni and then spread a new plant. And yang plant tu nanti keluar dia punya akar. Okay, this one is what we call it as a stolon. Sama juga like most of the grasses. Okay, now sebelum we start with ecology, I'll give you a 5-minute break. Okay, you can ask any question during this time. Boleh pergi toilet. Okay, tak ada soalan?
Tak ada.
Okay. So kamu boleh, we will start at 11:20. Sebelum tu kan saya nak tanya Muhammad Hafizan ada tak kat sini?
Dia tak masuk.
Tak ada. Kenapa ya?
Tak pasti.
Sebabnya dia tak ada inform apa-apa, but then I consider dia tak attendance tak ada lah tau. Because I think semua orang tahu kan ada kelas, and then we will use the same link. Maksudnya kamu tak perlu tukar-tukar link, same link sampai habis semester untuk this part lah, maksudnya untuk plant protection. So the same link. Even pun next week link ni akan available, but of course next week kita tak ada lah kan cuti semester, right? Okay, so cuti midterm break, and after that kita akan sambung balik dengan another part which is also week as well, then baru lepas tu kita akan pergi on agricultural entomology part. For week part ni tak complicated sangat because it's common, okay. Then I think it's more like macam your it's just more on general knowledge lah. Dia tak ada benda yang sangat critical. Okay, but for agricultural entomology, yes, you will face it a bit maybe harder lah. Okay, so let's proceed. Okay, let's see boleh slideshow ke tak? Okay, boleh nampak?
Boleh.
Weed ecology, right? Okay, if I move this slide, boleh nampak? Bergerak tak?
No.
Tak.
Tak bergerak juga?
Bukan weed ecology lagi.
Tapi dia tak nampak dia punya yang ada gambar figure, tak ada figure?
Tak ada.
Aish, tak tahulah kenapa. Okay, well anyway, let's proceed macam cara tadi jugalah. I'm not sure why. Okay, anyway. Okay, so for weed ecology, when we're talking about ecology, it's actually interaction between weed as well as their environment. So and their environment maksudnya apa benda yang ada kat environment, environmental parameter, another plants, pests, insects, soil. So tu adalah we call it weed ecology, interaction with environment. Okay, so it can be study on adaptive mechanism, macam mana menyebabkan weed ni boleh appear well in certain condition and so on. So tu adalah involve weed ecology lah. Okay, and then usually it's involved juga study related to macam herbicide use, effect of herbicide use and so on. Okay, so for weed ecology in crop ecosystem, okay, now we are talking about crop ecosystem, bukan yang wild, bukan yang kat tepi jalan and so on. No, this is mainly about what we call it yang bila kita tanam lah. Okay, so the weed interaction in ecosystem, especially yang involve crop. So ni adalah dia punya what we call it, kita panggil lah figure dia punya of interaction. So weed ni mungkin involve with human, mungkin compete with crop, mungkin juga there are natural environment or environmental factor that involve weeds. Okay, and then human also related to crop, and human activity also can improve or can what we call it effect changes in natural environment. So dia pelbagai hala, but still include weed in this aspect lah. So tu what we call it weed ecology. If we remove weed, now it become just what we call agriculture ecosystem without weed. So tak jadilah kan. But now we are talking about weed ecology, so it involve everything. human environment as well as a crop lah, since in crop ecosystem. So when you want to manage weed, you cannot only consider one aspect, which is weed sahaja. No, you have to consider the aspect of interaction either with environment, either with crops, with everything. Okay, so tu yang kita kata study on weed ecology. So for environmental interaction, there are 3 important weed environment interaction, which is climate, sorry, the batuk lah. Climate, soil, and also biota. Biota is actually living organism lah, tak kisahlah another plant or pest or animal in that area. Okay, so climate is more like on temperature, water, rainfall or precipitation. Soil is soil matters, and then biota is either living organism that in soil, living organism in terrestrial organism that interact with weed. Okay, so for weed and climate, factors that determine weed ecological interaction, ni normal lah, like any other plants, light, temperature, wind, water, humidity, seasonal, and so on. This is simple information. Okay, and okay, when we're talking about climates, okay, it can be a climates yang macam microclimates, bukannya macroclimates. So here, tillage are major environmental changes that can lead to shift in species composition in affected area. Okay, kenapa pula tillage? Tillage ni maksud membajak tau. Okay, in bahasa Melayu adalah membajak. So this is a practice that we employ for weed management to affect the population of weed or crop pests and so on. Maksudnya bila kamu membajak, okay, it's actually mengganggu microclimates for the weed to grow. And other than that, light intensity, the quality of light, duration of light also affect weed presence and survival. And photo period, okay, photo period involve light juga tadi. Response govern the flowering times, okay, and then when the seed matured and so on. And for the temperature, latitudinal limit juga mempengaruhi the species distribution lah. Maksudnya kat sini, let's say katalah kalau dekat temperature yang kat bawah, for example kan, kamu ada tempat higher altitude. So higher altitude dia punya temperature akan rendah. So you will found different species of weeds in that area because of the changes in climates. Dalam case ni is temperature lah, also including the light, receive of light. Okay. And soil temperature is primarily determinant of seed germination and survival. So when we're talking about climates, like I said, we have microclimates, microclimates, and soil climate inside the soil also we consider is a primary factors or determinant that ensure the survival of the weed. Okay, sama ada dia boleh germinate atau tak. So it depend fully on the, especially lah, maksudnya majority of ataupun we call it main factor adalah dari soil punya temperature and so on. Okay, and then water supply, okay, juga mempengaruhi species of survival. Okay, and wind affect dia punya evaporation process, affect the transpiration process, also affect tadi kita kata the dispersal distribution kan, sejauh mana dia boleh disperse. Okay, and also affect the microclimate within plant canopy, then and relative concentration of carbon dioxide and oxygen in that area. And for adaptive factor, Even though tadi soil temperature kita masuk dekat climate sebab we talking about temperature. Now we are talking about adaptive factor which is soil itself. Okay, but it still involve temperature kalau kamu tengok kat sini kan. But here when we talking about soil factor, apa benda yang involve soil sebenarnya. So tak ada dah influence dari above. Okay, soil ni maksud like soil water, erosion, adakah partikel tu, partikel soil tu padat ke kan. And then pH, fertility of fertility source, crop system. So anything that relate dengan soil. Termasuklah juga management practice yang kita involve soil like tillage and mungkin membajak, mungkin membaja kan. Bila kamu letak baja dah influence the pH of the soil. Okay, so many weeds do well in soil that too low in fertility for crop production but grow in only but others grow in only well fertilized soils. Maksudnya kat sini katalah mungkin certain crop need certain condition for soil, but many weeds can survive in that condition as well. And here I put an example, okay, like kochia. It can live or grow well in alkaline or saline soil, but not in acidic soil. And then there are certain plants that you can see the changes either in colors or either in certain part of the plant yang tunjuk, okay, ni adalah because of the perubahan in pH. The most common yang ni adalah kochia, but then it can also due to the different species, okay. But the most common example yang kita boleh tengok adalah hydrangea, okay, pokok 3 bulan. I think I'm not sure whether you all semua kenal, but the flower, okay, dia boleh bertukar colour from purple or blue in colour to pink depending on the soil. Okay, so depending on the soil pH. So katalah kalau macam certain part, I'm not sure whether acidic or alkaline, dia jadi colour biru. But then when the soil change pH, mungkin become acidic, the flowers become different colour which is more to a shade of pink. Okay, so kamu boleh nampak pelbagai jenis colour of hydrangea. Ataupun nama lain is pokok Siti Zubaidah, I think pokok bunga which is yang common dekat Malaysia. Okay, dia boleh bertukar colour even from the same plant. Kita bercakap sekarang from the same plant. If you change the soil pH, colour dia boleh berubah dari warna biru ke warna pink. Okay, or within that range lah, biru ke pink tu mungkin jadi purple and so on. Okay, because of the soil pH. And now interaction with biota. So biota is any living communities. It can be other plants, it can be other organisms like pests and so on. So if we're talking about plant and crop, so we're talking about wheat and crop. So crop is another biota, another plant yang will compete with wheat either for water, either for nutrient or space as well. So association of wheat and crop is usually determined by the degree of competition. Sama ada certain crop boleh compete with certain wheat atau tak. So because of that in agricultural ecosystem, usually wheat ni kita tak nak lah. Sebab we all know that certain wheat boleh compete kan. Sometimes dia boleh grow lagi cepat berbanding crop. So kalau dah semua nutrient diambil oleh wheat, what happen to your crop? Of course jadi tak cantik dah. So that's why we don't want it, we need to control the association of wheat and crop in the agricultural ecosystem. Yang ni factor that contributing to association of crop, like I said tadi, maybe because of similar size, maybe because of time germination sama, life cycle is similar, And most of the wheat usually easily withstand the tillage process or harvesting practice of the crop. Okay, this one others ni adalah dia punya explanation je. You can read it by your own. Okay, now we are talking about plant competition between wheat and crop, right? So factors that influence plant competition with species density, distribution and duration. This is also involve the edaphic and climate factor lah. Maksudnya faktor luaran selain daripada species diversity and their distribution. They compete, again, I said for nutrient, water, light, space. Nutrient, we have this one, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, which is primary nutrient, but there are other nutrient as well. Okay, this is the what we call it relationship we can see between crop yield and wheat density. If the wheat density in our agricultural area is very high, so meaning that your crop yield during that time, okay, is very low. Wheat density high somewhere here, so maksudnya your crop yield of course akan jadi low lah. If wheat density is low, your crop yield is high. So ni adalah dia punya schematic curve linear relationship between effect of increasing wheat and density of your crop yield. Okay, so that's why due to this relationship, we have to remove or we have to control wheat density so that we can reach high production of yield. Okay, when talking about wheat ecology, it's also involves something words or not something, maksudnya aspect of allelopathy. So it's a form of plant interference that occur when one plant through living or decaying tissue interfere with growth of another plant via a chemical inhibitor. Maksudnya certain plant, they can compete because katalah dia boleh species A compete with species B, and this A can grow excessively because it has allelopathy or chemical content, ataupun kita kata what we call it, bahan kimia lah yang ada dalam plant yang can be exposed ataupun disposed to environment, either from decaying tissue or maybe juga exposed to air, okay, that can inhibit ataupun suppress the growth of another plant. That's why dia berjaya atau compete. Let's say wheat produce allelopathy and you planted a crop which is yang susceptible to this wheat. So dia akan suppress the growth of this crop. Okay, so allelopathy is come from the word others ni, kamu tengok kat sini, okay, it's actually refers to suppressing atau suffering of others. Okay, and then it can, in management or wheat management, it can be a good strategy control if we have plant or crops that can produce allelopathy to suppress the growth of wheat. Okay, but of course tak bagus lah kalau wheat tu yang ada allelopathy. Faham tak? Sekarang if we have crops yang ada allelopathy, it can suppress the growth of wheat, which is good. That's good management strategy lah if we can have that. Okay. And also certain, kalau katalah bukan crop, certain plant pun sama juga. If we can have certain plant that can suppress the growth of it much better. Okay, this is example, corn cocker and ryegrass fail to germinate in the presence of beet seed. Maksudnya beet seed ni produce allelopathy that can repress ataupun inhibit the growth of corn cocker, which is wheat. Also ryegrass ni also is wheat lah. Okay, here is the example lagi contoh antara wheat and the susceptible species of crop. So if you have Bermuda grass, maksudnya in that area you cannot planted like barley, coffee and soybean because this grass can produce allelopathy that can suppress the growth of barley, coffee and soybean. Okay, this is the example lah kat sini, kamu boleh tengok sendiri. Okay, this allelopathy, like I said tadi, chemical content or secondary plant metabolite yang selalunya tak involve dalam dia punya what we call it metabolism, plant metabolism, but then producing to certain aspect lah. Maksudnya it produce dalam kes ni dia bagus untuk suppress other growth. But dalam dia punya metabolism mungkin benda tu tak guna pun. It's just a secondary metabolite. Okay, you can read others as well. This is the example. Okay, it can be used as a herbicide. Maksudnya if we can produce more allelopathy in more allelochemical or secondary beneficial secondary metabolite, then it can be used directly as a herbicide lah to suppress the growth of wheat. Okay, this is the mode of the transmission. It can be producing atau exposed to environment through volatilization from leaf or leaching from leaf, or maybe leaching from plant litter, or from decaying matters, or maybe exudation from root. So this is the how it can be released to environment to suppress the growth of others. Sorry. Okay, and then this one tak ada lah. This is only the significance of wheat ecology in terms of allelopathy kan. Okay, I think that's all for this lecture for this part. But before that, I want to show you another part. Okay, another part which is this one. Okay, yang ni kita tak akan sentuh banyak. Okay, this is not a slideshow, but I will this is PDF, but I will share with you also in iTalim. Okay, sebelum tu ada any question pasal tu, pasal yang slide our lecture tadi? Tak ada?
No.
Okay, I think it's very simple kan. All you need is understand the concept. Sebab dia not involve difficult term and so on. Okay, now I share you the plant disease caused by parasitic higher plant and invasive climbing plant. Boleh nampak tak? This picture. Okay, this part we're not going to discuss detail. I just want to show you, but I hope you will read this part as well, okay, in your as a lecture note. But we are talking about the plant disease of parasitic higher plant. Maksudnya parasitic plant. Okay, ini bukan normal plant. Plant that parasitize on other plant. Okay, we also consider it as a weed. Okay, we will skip this part. Okay, but I want to say here, it's parasitize on others. Okay, so when it parasitize on others, meaning that the punya source of food, some of it come from the host. Okay, faham tak? Maksudnya source of water, bukan semua, some of it can have photosynthesis process as well, so they can make their own food as well, but some of the nutrient can come from the plant, the host plant. Okay, kat sini saya nak share, example. Okay, first dodder. daughter ni kalau kat kita ada what we call it tali puteri. That one is common. Okay, it's a slender twining plant. Okay, kamu tak nampak dia daun. You cannot see the real leaf. Dia just nampak macam urat je. Macam thread-like only, leafless. But it still produce flowers. Okay, so that kind of flowers also can produce seed. So seed tu akan spread later on. Okay, so when they make contact with susceptible hosts, okay, first, okay, let's say macam ni. Seed tu, okay, sekejap I will show you the picture first. Okay, macam mana nak dia punya bentuk. Okay, ni yang nampak colour orange-orange yang macam rambut ni. This one is doda ataupun parasitic plant tadi. Okay, yang tanda arrow ni adalah haustoria. Ni haustoria, which is kat mana dia melekat or attached to the host. Okay, kamu nampak ni kat bawah ni dia macam inject dia punya haustoria into the host cell, host part lah, to absorb nutrient and so on. Dia macam seolah-olah macam akar, but not a normal root. We call it haustoria. Dia bukan normal root, but dia inject masuk and then spread seolah-olah macam akar, but then bukan atas tanah, but inside the host to absorb the nutrient. Okay, this is their life cycle. Okay, I will explain the life cycle. Mula-mula, okay, dia punya seed akan expose. Since I said they're producing flowers, so flowers will lead to sexual reproduction and producing seed. Seed akan jatuh atas tanah, and then when atas tanah, it will grow as a single individual lah kan. So once germinate, okay, let's say if there is a available host, dia akan start memanjat, okay, memanjat host, and then producing haustoria, which is like I said macam akar, but then absorb the nutrient from the host. Okay, bila dah sampai atas pokok, katalah dia producing the haustoria and then dia dah absorb the nutrient from the host, dia akan putuskan dia punya link dengan tanah. So dia start growing from the soil, right? But now bila dah attached to the host, dia akan putuskan dia punya hubungan dengan soil, then start growing. Maksudnya source of water no longer come from soil. Source of water fully come from the host. Okay, because of that, bila kita cakap pasal parasitic plant, it will cause damage to the host. Since dia absorb makanan dari host kan. So if susceptible host, dia akan buat host dia akan matilah. So once atas pokok, dia akan absorb nutrient. Some of the species with photosynthetic ability akan producing their own another source of food, producing seed, and then complete the cycle again lah. Okay, this is the dodder. Okay, and then we have this kind of what we call it witchweed. Yang ni kamu nampak dia macam seolah-olah pokok yang berasingan daripada host. But actually, okay, I will explain just in brief. Okay, actually it absorb the nutrient from the root. So nampak macam duduk sebelah-sebelah kan, macam pokok bunga tumbuh dekat sebelah pokok jagung. Yeah, it's rice striga. Striga is actually parasitic plant for monocot, like certain type of grasses, as well as here is corn lah. Ni gambar contohnya ada corn. So dia akan attach dia punya roots, root to roots. Dari root dia akan attach to the root of corn, then absorb the nutrient from the corn. Dia bukan absorb nutrient from the soil. So it's a parasitic plant, but you cannot see from the above ground. The activity of parasitize is appear below ground. Above ground dia nampak macam seolah-olah pokok yang jiran je, kan? But it's actually parasitic plant. Okay, this is the mechanism. Sama jugalah. When it grow from the soil, dia akan producing dia punya roots. Okay, roots that has what we call it haustoria to penetrate the host root and absorb nutrient, and then look like it's growing near the host plant lah. So it will complete the cycle again. Okay, now bloom rate. This one is not familiar ataupun bukan yang ada dekat kita, usually in very dry region, okay, and West Asia. I'm not sure we have it in Malaysia. Okay, but this one pun sama, dia punya mechanism is similar to striga tadi. Okay, this one dwarf mistletoe is usually you found it in pokok berkayu. Dia punya host usually adalah pokok berkayu. Okay, it look like macam keluar bunga kan, macam keluar tangkai bunga, but then it's actually different plant. Okay, it will absorb directly from the xylem and phloem of the host. Okay, this is, we call it dwarf mistletoe. Usually this type of plant, it cannot produce what we call it photosynthetic pigment tadi to produce their own food. So most of the food come from the host. This is the life cycle. Okay, it will penetrate the plant, the host plant. Okay, and then absorb the nutrient and then grow. Okay, this type of parasitic plant usually transmit, okay, by maybe because of the feeding mechanism by birds and so on. Okay, so since it's producing seed, okay, they produce macam buah lah. So this type of fruits, it will eat by animals, and then bila animal tu buang najis ataupun keluarkan dia punya feces, attach to the plant host, then it will grow. Okay. But this one is not common juga. Cumanya if you went to the macam forest, there are plant, large plant yang ataupun ditrocap yang infected by this kind of parasitic plant. Okay, this is truly now we look at leafy mistletoe. This one for rhododendron, this is the common one yang kita jumpa dekat pokok atau kita panggil pokok dedalu. Bukan semalu, but dedalu. Okay, I'm not sure whether any of you kenal pokok, this kind of pokok. Okay, it look like the host plant yang punya daun. Faham tak? Macam kalau kamu tengok kat sini kan, dia keluar cabang seolah-olah macam host plant, but actually it's different kind of plant. Okay, so dia tumbuh their own tapi attached to the plant. Pokok dedalu. Kalau dekat Malaysia we call it pokok dedalu. I'm not sure, maybe your parents know, for those yang familiar lah. Okay, so dia akan keluarkan daun. Kalau kamu tengok kan, kalau tengok yang gambar B kat bawah ni, seolah-olah ni adalah daun pokok induk, which is yang besar ni. No, actually it's different species of plant. Cumanya attached to this larger plant. Okay, now we also have what we call it invasive climbing plant, but this one is not parasitic. It's just that it can suppress the growth of the other plant or the crops maybe due to the excessive growth. For example, we have lygodium ataupun pokok what we call it dia paku pakis, kind of paku pakis, and kudzu-wine. This is what I mean. Lygodium is pokok pakis. It can suppress the growth of the host. Tapinya dia bukan parasitic plant because the roots is actually attached to the ground or to the soil. It's just that due to excessive growth of this plant, it suppress, maybe we suppress the light of the penetration of light to the host. So maksudnya dia macam mana cakap, so the host tidak boleh hasilkan photosynthesis yang bagus, so it can suppress the host due to their excessive growth. Okay, so that's all for this parasitic part, because I want to introduce you as well to this kind of plant. We still consider it as a weed, even though for those parasitic plant